I'm Harley. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a feisty and independent woman. Let me tell you about the roller coaster ride that was my relationship with my husband, Dominic. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a bumpy one. Dominic and I had our fair share of ups and downs, as most couples do. While I loved him with all my heart, there was one major obstacle in our path to happiness. His overbearing and judgmental mother, Charlotte. That woman had a flair for putting me down at every turn. No matter what I did, it was never good enough for her. Whenever we had family gatherings, Charlotte would make snide comments about my cooking, criticizing every dish as if she were a Michelin-starred chef herself. She'd scoff at the flavors, pick apart the presentation, and compare my culinary skills unfavorably to her own. It was as if she wanted to show the world that I was inadequate, unworthy of her son's love. But it wasn't just about my cooking. Charlotte had a talent for undermining my achievements, too. Once, at a dinner party, I proudly shared news of a promotion at work, hoping for a word of congratulations. Instead, she brushed it off with a wave of her hand, dismissing it as insignificant compared to the accomplishments of her friends' children. I felt small, invisible in her eyes. And don't even get me started on our wedding. While it should have been a joyful celebration, Charlotte made it her mission to criticize every decision she made, from the choice of venue to the color scheme of the decorations. Nothing was good enough for her discriminating taste. I watched as she whispered her disapproval to anyone who would listen, tarnishing what should have been the happiest day of my life. Now, you'd think my loving husband would come to my defense, right? Well, think again. Dominic, bless his soul, had this bizarre blind spot when it came to his mother. He just couldn't see the way she belittled me, dismissed my accomplishments, and made me feel like I wasn't worthy of his love. It tore me apart. To make matters worse, my father-in-law, Caleb, was the only one who seemed to understand and challenge his wife's toxic behavior. He wasn't afraid to put her in her place, but I longed for Dominic to be the one to stand up for me. After all, I was his wife, his partner, and I deserved his unwavering support. But time and time again, I found myself disappointed. Dominic remained silent, allowing his mother's words to cut me like 1,000 paper cuts. It was a constant battle between my desire for his love and my frustration at his inaction. It wasn't just about defending me against Charlotte's snide remarks. It was about fighting for our love and showing me that I mattered. I yearned for him to see through his mother's manipulations and prioritize our relationship above all else. But it seemed like he was caught in a tangled web of family dynamics, unable to break free. As days turned into months and months into years, resentment started to build within me. I felt neglected, unappreciated, and trapped in a relationship where my needs were constantly brushed aside. It was a toxic cycle that needed to be broken. The beginning of the end was just around the corner. It all started when Dominic casually dropped a bombshell that he had to go on a business trip to Tampa for a week. Another business trip? Seriously, Dominic? It's an important meeting that couldn't be postponed, babe. But you just got back from one. Can't someone else handle it? And why Tampa all of a sudden? You see, he had just returned a few days ago from a different business trip, so this sudden impromptu excursion raised my eyebrows. I tried to express my concerns to him, hoping he'd ease my worries, but Dominic's response only added fuel to the fire. He was evasive, offering vague explanations that did little to reassure me, but I let it go, albeit reluctantly, trusting that my fears were unfounded. You know how it is. Things just come up unexpectedly. It's just business. Yeah, just business, okay. Regardless of my suspicions, I didn't question it too much, and off he went on this business meeting. Days 1 to 3 of Dominic's supposed business trip rolled by, and my suspicions only grew stronger. I decided to FaceTime him, as I often did when he was away, but to my dismay, Dominic seemed to opt for audio calls instead. Hey, babe, can we video chat tonight? Sorry, sweetheart. The hotel Wi-Fi is acting up, so audio calls are more reliable for now. But don't worry, everything's fine. Wi-Fi issues? Really? It's just too convenient, don't you think? Babe, don't worry about it. But I did worry about it. Sometimes I would hear a woman in the background, and the doubts swirled within me, intensifying my unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that Dominic was hiding something, that there was a hidden agenda behind this supposed business trip. The foundation of trust we once had begun to crumble, replaced by an unsettling uncertainty that cast a shadow over our relationship. Even with these doubts, I kept silent, and I just accepted his excuses for those 3 days. I couldn't believe it. 3 days had passed, and I still hadn't seen Dominic. In addition to not doing the FaceTimes, he would also cut our audio calls shorter and shorter. I had to get to the bottom of everything. I tried to FaceTime him on the 4th day, hoping to get some answers, but what I saw on the screen left me speechless. Instead of Dominic's face, it was Charlotte who answered the call. There she was, sitting in a beach chair with sunglasses on and a noticeable tan. This news hit me like a ton of bricks. Charlotte, what are you doing there? Where's Dominic? She smirked, seemingly pleased with herself. Oh, Harley, dear, you didn't think he was on a business trip, did you? Honestly, though, I can say that he had to go to these lengths to keep the truth from you. But I guess that just shows how overbearing you can be. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Dominic had been lying to me. And his mother was right there basking in the sun while I was left in the dark. Anger started to boil within me as I realized the depth of their deception. So you're saying that the both of you planned the secret vacation without me? Well, yes. Why? Because I wanted to visit my hometown and I wanted to do it with my son. Is that so wrong? Of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you want me to come? Because this is a special trip for me and my son only. Okay, but I'm his wife. I should have been there. And this could have been an opportunity for you and me to squash whatever issue you seem to have with me. I'm also in need of a vacation. Well, you didn't get one. Sorry, not sorry. I'm going to ignore your childishness for 1 second to say that even if you really wanted this special trip without me, that would have also been fine. I'm an adult. You can tell me if I'm not invited to something. I promise you I can handle it. What I'm saying is, even if you two wanted to go alone, that wouldn't have been an issue. Let me just tell it to you straight. We kept it a secret from you because we didn't want you to know. Simple. We didn't care about whether or not you wanted to come or whether or not you would have been okay with us going. We just didn't want you to know. But your incessant calling is peeving me, so I just thought that I'd rip off the Band-Aid and tell you. Are you being serious, Charlotte? What exactly is wrong with you? Has all that sun fried your brain cells? How pathetic of you to insult me like that. You're taking this way too far. You're being such a drama queen. I'm not being a drama queen. I have every right to be upset, especially after all these years of dealing with your crap. Charlotte shrugged, feigning innocence. Oh, Harley, dear, sometimes it's best not to know everything your husband does. It was just a little secret getaway just for us, something special. You wouldn't understand the type of bond we have. I felt a mixture of emotions surge through me, betrayal, anger, and sadness. It was clear that they had planned this together, leaving me out of the loop and feeling utterly deceived. As the realization sunk in, I couldn't help but wonder what else they had lied about. How long had these secret trips been going on? Why did they feel so strongly about not telling me, and what other secrets were they hiding from me? The trust I had once placed in Dominic was crumbling, and I was brought out of my realization when I heard his voice in the background approaching further and further. Mom, what the hell are you doing? Why did you answer the phone? It's about time Harley found out the truth. It's been 4 days. Dominic snatched the phone from his mother's grasp, his face turning pale as he realized the gravity of the situation. He stared at the screen, clearly aware that he was caught in a web of deceit. How could you lie about the business trip, Dominic? And the past 3 days? The Wi-Fi was perfectly fine, wasn't it? I didn't want you to be upset with me. Well, yeah, I have every right to be upset. I just felt like you'd be jealous. Is it weird that you want to hang out with your mom more than with me? Yeah, sure. But honestly, Dominic, with the way that you haven't been standing up for me, I've been feeling distant from you already. If you needed your stupid, special mommy-son time, you could have said that. Even if I was going to be a bit upset about not being invited, it's better than what I'm feeling now. The anger bubbled within me as Dominic continued with his feeble excuse. It was clear that he had underestimated the consequences of his actions. I couldn't hold back my frustration any longer. Dominic, even though I don't truly understand why I wasn't invited, I want you to know that I wouldn't have been upset with you if you had been honest with me from the beginning. It's not about the trip itself. It's about the fact that you felt the need to hide it. That's what's weird to me. I mean, I thought that you were cheating on me, for God's sake. What? Never. Yeah, well, when I've been hearing female voices in the background of the phone calls for the past couple of days, I began to wonder. Well, as I mentioned, I have a very special bond with my mother. Sometimes we just need to get away from everything, you know. And to Tampa, of all places? Don't you both hate Tampa? What about Gertrude? We're not going to visit her. Wow, so this secret was just between the two of you? What about your father? Does he know about this? Wow, I can't talk to you right now. I hope this trip was worth it because when you come back, I'm not sure you'll still find a wife in your home. Harley, don't be like that. Wait, please. But I didn't wait. I hung up the phone and proceeded to decline all of his upcoming calls. I was pacing in my room. What reason would he have to hide such a simple thing from me? One thing about me, when you lie about the seemingly small things, I wonder what big things are you hiding from me? It was so weird to find him hanging out with his mom on this secret excursion, though. Honestly, I would have preferred if he was cheating on me. I was so frustrated with my weird and inactive husband and his equally weird and abrasive mother, I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to confide in someone who would understand the gravity of the situation. I picked up my phone and dialed my father-in-law's number, hoping he would be able to provide some clarity and support. Hey, it's Harley. I need to talk to you about something important. I began pouring my heart out about the deception that had consumed my marriage. I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I revealed every detail of Dominic's lies, from his fabricated business trip to his desperate attempts to keep me in the dark. The pain of his betrayal cut deep, but what stung even more was Charlotte's role in all of this. I recounted how she reveled in my ignorance, relishing the power she held over me. The weight of their deceit was suffocating, and as I spoke, I could see the disbelief and hurt etched in Caleb's responses. Caleb's voice turned grave, matching the weight of my revelation. What? I had no idea about any of this. I'm so sorry I had to be the one to tell you about all this. I called you immediately after finding out. Charlotte told me she was going to Tampa to visit her mother and mend their broken relationship. I thought she was being sincere. Well, that's funny because Dominic just admitted that they weren't planning to visit Gertrude at all. And Gertrude has no idea about their supposed visit. Caleb's shock and hurt was palpable through the phone line. It was becoming clearer that Charlotte had been orchestrating a web of lies, manipulating everyone involved. We sympathized with each other, considering both our partners hurt us so deeply. We began to speculate about other suspicious occasions where they would just up and leave, and all the puzzle pieces seemed to be falling into place. I can't believe Charlotte would stoop so low. It's one thing to have disagreements, but to deceive her own family like this? It's unforgivable. They both need to learn a lesson. I agree. I have a suggestion. They're in Tampa, right? And they seem to be avoiding Gertrude. What if you call her and let her know that her beloved daughter and grandson are visiting? You know what? That's genius. I'm so angry right now, I'll do anything to teach those two about lying to us. After concluding the phone call with words of encouragement and excitability for what was about to ensue, I waited patiently to hear back from Caleb about his mother-in-law's reaction after finding out that her kid and her grandson came to visit her. A couple of hours went by, and Caleb told me the good news. After Caleb's phone call to Gertrude, the gravity of the situation became even more apparent. Caleb's voice trembled with a mix of anger and sadness as he described the conversation he had with Gertrude. I told her everything, Harley. She was furious, devastated even. She couldn't believe her own daughter would deceive everyone like this. She deserves to know the truth, Caleb. Charlotte has been acting horrible to us all for far too long. Gertrude has decided to take matters into her own hands, Harley. She's planning to teach Charlotte a lesson she won't forget. She's tired of Charlotte's behavior and wants to show her the real meaning of rudeness. This might not be my place, but what exactly is the issue between Charlotte and Gertrude? Well, Harley, I'm sure you'd find it ironic, but Charlotte always told me that her mother was very rude and cruel to her. And when Charlotte ran away at 16, they've had a rocky relationship ever since, being in and out of touch for years. It's very toxic. But after chatting with Gertrude for the past hour, I'm inclined to believe that Charlotte was the problem all along. It's crazy. I've been married to Shah for all these years, and you and Dom have only been married for 3. Yet they've managed to uncover more family secrets in this short amount of time. I should have been more inquisitive. I should have fought more. How could you have known, Caleb? Don't beat yourself up about it, please. You were just being a good husband, sticking by whatever your wife told you. And you fought more than your son has. That counts for something. Thanks, Harley, for everything. I'm glad that I could help. Unfortunately, things have come to this, though. Yeah, I guess it is. But I'm just waiting for Gertrude to show them how nasty she can get. The next day arrived, and the repercussions of our revelations began to unfold. Dominic, unable to comprehend the consequences of his actions, called me in frustration, his words laced with irritation. Harley, what did you do? What do you mean? Don't play coy with me. Gertrude is here, and nobody else knows that we are here except you. Gertrude revealed that she came to us because she heard we were in town. I'm glad she knows the truth. Everyone deserves to know after all your shadiness. How could you do this, Harley? In the background, after hearing some inaudible commotion from 2 female voices, one sounding much older than the other, I correctly assumed that was Gertrude unleashing her righteous anger. Dominic, maybe it's time Charlotte gets a taste of what she's been dishing out all these years. It's about time she experiences the consequences of her deception. Suddenly, I heard this. You ungrateful little wretch! How dare you expose us like this? I couldn't help but chuckle softly, a touch of bitterness coloring my laughter, but before I could respond, I heard, Don't you dare speak to that young lady that way. I've had it with you and your insolence. You've been telling everyone how rude and nasty I was to you, huh? When all I did was care for you and help you out of trouble. You were such a problem child, lying about everything and being nasty to everyone. And I see that lifestyle has followed you into adulthood. We haven't properly seen or talked to each other ever since you left, and this is how you want to act? Do you think I'm rude and nasty? Just wait, I'll show you rude and nasty. I heard things break. It sounded like a glass or a vase, and I was a bit fearful as the shouting continued. I couldn't imagine how scared Dominic was, but I quickly realized that this is what he deserved. As much as he was her child, and was probably brainwashed from birth, he was a grown adult, and he was part of these choices. I was done making excuses for both of them. They were getting their justice, and I was glad that I was here to hear it. A couple more days of chaos ensued, with Dom asking me to forgive him because his grandmother was driving him crazy. I kept on reminding him that this was his fault, and each time he'd call, Charlotte and Gertrude were arguing back and forth. Honestly, I was surprised they didn't get kicked out of the hotel they were staying in. To make matters worse, when their 7-day excursion had come to an end, Dom revealed something even more shocking. Harley, please, You have to talk to Gertrude. I tried talking to Dad, but he's still mad at my mom and me. Slow down. What's going on? You two are meant to be coming back, right? I think you've learned your lesson. Well, Gertrude doesn't think so. She's going to board the plane with us. What? Yep. She says she wants to follow us home and make sure my mom starts acting like a respectable adult and not some crazed teenager. Wow, bet you weren't expecting that, huh? Maybe next time you'll stand up for what's right and not participate in your mother's schemes. See you when you get here. Harley, I regret everything. Haven't you tortured us enough? Please talk to Gertrude and tell her that she doesn't have to come with us. I don't think so, sweetie. Who am I to argue with that woman? She's terrifying. How do you think we feel? Honestly, Dom, I don't care how you feel. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and you never stood up for me when your mom treated me like crap. You're getting your karma. Don't be mad at me. Now have a safe flight. Well, a safer flight you can have with these two ladies being with each other. As I hung up the phone, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Finally, the tables had turned, and I had taken a stand against the toxicity that had consumed our lives for far too long. Gertrude, the unexpected ally, had unleashed her own brand of justice, and I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of excitement. I now wait for their return, anticipating the stories from Gertrude, as I'm sure that she continued to make their lives a living hell on that flight. Revenge never tasted so sweet.